Okay, I've got it. Sorry.
No worries. I want to make sure we get it.
Hi. So can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so we're calling this Getting Ready for 2021. I was going to call this 2021 updates, but 2021 has barely started and everything is from the latter half of 2020. So that's why I'm calling it Getting Ready for 2021. And we're going to talk about what's happening on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Like I said, it is based on this article, which is linked here in the chat. You can find that on our blog, and that went up yesterday. So everything that I cover is mostly covered in that article. I may flesh things out just a little bit. There is also a link to our guides, which I also put in chat as well on this page. So I believe I added it later in the presentation as well. The guides, like I said, include all the information, not just the updates. So why be on Facebook? Because there are 1 billion daily active users. And if you're not there, you are missing a large part of the crafting community. 74% of Facebook users visit Facebook once a day, and 78% of American consumers say they've discovered products on Facebook that they want to buy. So it is the place where a lot of your consumers are, and developing a community over there, interacting with your customers and potential customers is a great way to introduce them to your brand. So let's talk about what's new on Facebook. As you may have noticed in the last few months, Facebook got a facelift, and whether you love it or hate it, it's kind of here to stay. Facebook is really focusing on the user experience, and the spotlight right now is on groups and events. So starting a group for your business so that people get notifications, adding special events. I know most of the events are virtual these days, but adding them as events on Facebook so people can see what's happening. If you have trunk shows or classes, or even just Facebook Lives that you're going to schedule. I have one client who does a Facebook Live every Tuesday and does unboxings of new products. Scheduling those as events so people can RSVP and get the link and come see them. Those are great ways to make use of these for your crafty business. So second of all, Facebook debuted their new business suite. It's a single dashboard for your linked Facebook and Instagram accounts. So it's kind of nice because you can get all of your messages in one place. You can also schedule your posts going out both places. You can advertise, you can view all of your insights in one place. You know, everyone debates whether Instagram was better before Facebook took it over or after. You know, there are certainly some different benefits and drawbacks to that, but now you have kind of one handy place to look at things. It is easier for your social media management. You can also compare your content performance across platforms. So if you post the same thing to Facebook or Instagram, you can see which types of content do best in both places. Remember that the platforms do differ a little bit in their practices. For instance, on Instagram, you definitely want to be using hashtags. Facebook, that's a little less useful. A lot of people do use hashtags, but it's not quite the same as with Instagram, where you can then go see photos that all make use of the same hashtags. On Facebook, you can add a link into your post. On Instagram, you can add the text of the link, but it will not be a hot link. So you may want to think about doing different posts, making your post content slightly different across the platforms. So it may not be as simple as having one post go to both platforms. You may want to add link in profile, use link in bio or link tree so that you can keep the links you know, active and accessible to your users or followers. So Facebook advertising, there's also been a little bit of a change there. Facebook has removed the 20% restriction of a text on ad image. They find that ads without text for the most part do better, but you may consider using text sparingly like we did in this ad. The other thing that you could use now that text is available is you could do testimonials. If you have customer reviews of your product that you want to turn into ads, you can add them along with some nice graphics or photos and kind of turn that into an ad. And so that is a bit of a change in advertising. So the one thing that is coming is the iOS 14 update that is coming sometime probably in the first quarter of this year. And Apple and Facebook have kind of been going back and forth on this. With the iOS 14 update, users have to opt in to data collection instead of instead looking up on how to opt out. This means that users will automatically not be sharing their data with you unless they actually opt into sharing that data. Facebook does guess that that is going to have some impact on particularly ad performance, depending on how many people opt out to the anonymous data collection, or don't opt in to data collection. And it does mean that retargeting campaigns based on actions taken on your landing pages and parts of your website, there will be some impact to that. Honestly, we're just going to have to see how this works when it rolls out and if people are comfortable sharing their data. But it is a privacy concern, and it is something that's going to be coming up in the next quarter. So Instagram. This is another platform that you really do not want to ignore. Even though the demographic skews slightly differently on Instagram, you have a percentage of your users who are a little bit older are going to be more on Facebook, and some of the younger users skew more towards Instagram. It is a great place to reach your customers. Instagram users now number over 1 billion. They spend almost as much time on Instagram as they do on Facebook daily. Now that we'll talk about it a little bit, but Instagram has integrated a lot of shopping, sort of making it seamless. And like I said, Instagram's audience skews a little younger than Facebook's audience does. Most of the users are under, well, okay, 2/3 of the users are under the age of 35. So this again is a market that you don't really want to ignore. Instagram has added closed captioning for IGTV videos. This is a nice feature towards accessibility, and the accuracy is dependent on the clarity of your audio, so it may not be 100%, but if you are doing Instagram lives and other things that you're adding to your IGTV, it will automatically add those closed caption, which is really, really nice. They're taking a step in the direction of making their platform more accessible to everyone. Like I said, Instagram is launching its own shopping options. They actually redesigned the home screen in the last few months. It was the first redesign probably close to since Instagram started. You can see now down at the bottom, the icons are a little bit different. It is accessible directly from Instagram's main navigation menu down at the bottom through the shopping bag or the thing that looks a little bit like a purse. Instagram wants to show users more of what they are likely to buy based on previous engagements and posts and brands that they follow. So there is a whole world of shopping. It also means that if you set up your shop, you actually set it up through Facebook, but if you set up your Instagram shop, you can add a link sort of to directly click and take them right to the page where they can buy the product that you are showing. Facebook has also launched a live shopping feature, and that runs both across Facebook and Instagram. So those are some of the options that you have now with Instagram, sort of to integrate shopping into your social media feed. Instagram also launched Reels. Reels is a new way to record 15 to 30-second clips. This is in direct competition with TikTok. And Reels and Stories are somewhat similar, although Reels are definitely much shorter. And if you're struggling to understand what the difference is between the two and how you might want to use them differently, there is a really great guide from Later, the Ultimate Guide to Instagram Reels, that I've linked in this presentation. By the way, if you are watching this presentation and you would like a copy of this slide deck, go ahead and put your email in the chat box, and I will send you a copy of the slide presentation afterwards. So you'll be able to access all of these links there. So Pinterest is sort of the final prong in our three-pronged stool of the social media platforms that we really love. Pinterest functions as an electronic bulletin board and can drive a lot of traffic to your site. We often try and say it's a good goal to make Pinterest in your top 10 or 5 referrers to your site, and you can really build some traffic that way. Pinterest has had a banner year because everyone has been staying at home, planning what they're going to do when lockdown is over, and when we can go out in the world again. They're up to 440 million monthly users. 90% of active pinners use the platform to plan for or make purchases, and they see far higher purchase intent on Pinterest versus the other networks. So Pinterest is really just a place to bookmark all the things you wanna purchase and do later. So it's a really good way to get traffic back to your site and seeing the products. The other thing is that if you set up your Pinterest correctly so that you link your site to Pinterest, there are you have to have a Pinterest business account, but then there are instructions in the account settings on how to verify your site with Pinterest. Pinterest will take any traffic, any pins that you create that link to your site and prioritize them above your other pinned content. So they will share everything that's on your website first. And far more widely. So it's a really good idea to use Pinterest to just create another platform that's directing traffic to your site. Some things about Pinterest. One of the things that I noted, it's actually not in the article because I had that set up to publish, but it's just been in the last few days that I've really seen it. In the past, so Pinterest optimized graphics are usually longer than they are wide. The ratio that we were working with is 2 to 3. It used to be that they would recommend 600 to 900 pixels. Now they are looking for higher quality photos. So they're looking for 1000 by 1500 pixels. So that's just kind of an update to our best practices that I thought I'd add in here. Story pins, this actually is a slide from our previous presentation on some of the ways you might think about using story pins to tell your brand story. Story pins were conceived as sort of a shorter way to show somebody how to do something. A lot of folks use them for recipes or small projects or tasks where you can basically show how the task is completed in a series of pictures or short videos. The thing that's not great about story pins is that they don't have a direct click that will link back to your site. Basically, the only thing users can do with story pins is follow you over to your profile, but they are being prioritized in the Pinterest algorithm, and you can see a lot of traction. We ran some studies on a couple of our clients that we ran pins for, and we saw a huge increase in engagement and exposure for story pins. So this is something you might want to consider here. Basically, I just created sort of a short introduction to the brand. Freya does gradient yarns, absolutely beautiful gradient yarns in a bunch of different put-ups. She has patterns that she, and some other people's patterns that she has knit and given them the Freya gradient treatment. So this is just a kind of an interesting idea, particularly if you have a new pattern collection or a new set of colors for spring. You can create lots of different kinds of story pins with these. And then just make sure that everything that you're including in your story pins, particularly if they're patterns or specific yarns, make sure that you have those pins on your profile page so that when people come over, they have pins that they can click to get a direct link. And then in the description on your story, you can also add, come on over to our profile to see more of what we do. So just encouraging them to engage with your profile and ultimately follow through and end up on your website. We talked also about the Pinterest algorithm changes. Hang on, my computer is trying to launch an auto install that I didn't block. So let me try and get rid of that. Okay. Pinterest's goal is improving the user experience. And this year, sort of in the latter half of 2020, they focused on emphasizing recency and relevancy in pins. They want new content, they want high quality images, less repinning and pin looping. So, and like I said, the algorithms also prioritize content coming from your linked website. And then they also want you to spread out your pins so you're pinning consistently and frequently. You can use their scheduling feature or you can use another scheduler. But basically, you know, if you have 10 pins that you want to add, don't add them all on one day. Set them up so that one pin goes each day, because then you're adding new content every day to your feed. The other thing that I wanted to add here is Pinterest has a report called Not Yet Trending Predictions for 2021. Obviously, it's a little too early to figure out what is trending in 2021, but this is basically what they think is going to trend in 2021, including keywords and sort of some of the areas they think you'll focus on. So this is a really good report to kind of page through. It's electronic. But it's a great idea to sort of page through this and see what content you have or what content you might develop that will kind of jive with what their terms and ideas are for 2020, because that's how you can sort of ride the trending topics. So as I said, all of this information, including a bunch more, is available in our free 7-page guide to Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. You can, if you are on our newsletter, we'll be sending that out in the end of January monthly magic. If you are not on our mailing list yet, you can sign up for our mailing list and get these guides for free. They are our gift to you. And I think that's about it. So we can move on to questions. I'm going to go ahead and take myself off screen sharing. At this point, we'd like to open up the floor. You are welcome to ask any questions you would like. They can be related to the presentation, or they do not have to be related to the presentation at all. So if anyone is interested, please, unmute yourselves. You can turn on your video and ask away.
Thanks, Laura. That was a great presentation. Hopefully our participants got a few notes and can be on their way for 2021 social media. But as she said, if anybody else has questions, go ahead and let us know.
I'm curious if you have figured out any best practices for Reels yet. I know they're fairly new. I have a teenage daughter. She's given me some help, but but I have been experimenting with them, and it has increased my engagement. They're not even that impressive at this point. So the fact that it's done anything has been really positive, but I wonder if you've done any research into that yet.
I haven't. The one thing I will tell you, and I'm looking back at my notes because I'm looking back to see what I did attend a talk last year about best practices for TikTok. And I suspect that while not all of the mechanics are the same, some of the content strategy is the same. Let me see. Okay. Well, she recommends looking at what your top 10 keywords or questions are that you get asked about your content. So what frequently do people ask you when you post content on social media? And if you take, or what keywords do they search to get to your site if you're looking at your analytics, and potentially creating short posts to answer those questions. She also talks about trending content, and if you can tie some of the things that are trending to your brand, that's something to think about. Other than that, I don't have a ton of notes on that, but I will add that to my research topics, and we may be able to cover that at a future session of office hours or in a blog post this year.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Anne, I also have a teenager, so I can tell you that I get some tips from her as well. And one of them that I just noticed and we were talking about was how, at least on TikTok, and I think the same would be true on Reels, some people will borrow trending hashtags, even if it doesn't have anything to do with their content. So like one day I was watching a video and I was like, why do all these posts have hashtag prom on it? And she was like, oh, because prom is like a brand new movie that was being released. And so everyone was looking at hashtags for prom. So you show up in the For You page, at least on TikTok, if you've got the hashtag prom, because it's cross-pollinating the most popular hashtags. So that's sort of a little, I mean, I don't want to use the word black hattish, but it's sort of, an unorthodox way of trying to drive traffic over to your hashtag, but it is something I know that people do.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? And if you'd prefer not to be on screen, you can also put your questions in chat and we'll try and answer those.
Do anybody on the call today? I guess we can just throw out questions to you guys. Are there any other challenges that you're concerned about for Q1 or Q2? You know, we love to provide office hours, you know, really customized to concerns and questions that you guys have. So I'm curious, you know, what is sort of keeping you up at night, or what's top of your mind about things you'd like to learn about in 2021 that we might be able to prepare for you? Any suggestions there?
I mean, I know we've just touched on it, but TikTok is my biggest problem right now, for sure.
Mhm.
I too have, I don't have a teenager, I have a tween, and, you know, I don't even, you know, but I also am listening to, a mother who's my age, so that's like in her late 40s, and my friend who's like 62 talking about TikTok, and I'm like, it is definitely crossing all the boards, but I don't even know how to, you know, I have no idea how to navigate. So I
Right.
know that I thought you said, and I don't, your name comes up as Stitchcraft Marketing. But I thought you
Sure.
said that you did attend a seminar last year about TikTok. So maybe, you know, if you share that with like,
There is a
who-
social media
who's
conference
covering it these days?
that, I'm sorry. Well, so I listened to a talk, Getting Started with TikTok by Rachel Peterson. It's Pedersen. It was part of the Social Media Examiner Expo last year. It usually takes place in Las Vegas, but they also, I think it's a few $100s, have a pass if you want to attend electronically, and you can watch all the talks. And so you know, I'm probably too old for it, which is also why I need to do more research. I mean, I'm in my early 40s. And so when I look at TikTok, to me, it's fun and entertaining, but I have more of a problem seeing how it ties into a business brand, which is not to say that business brands are not advertising on there, but figuring out a way that's kind of fun and entertaining, but also somehow dovetails into your brand story is, I mean, that's the crucial piece.
Mhm. And I'll just jump in and admit that I am a TikTok user, and I'm older than you, Laura. So and I have been sort of monitoring and observing, you know, how I think it could be used for marketing. And I have seen a couple of applications, so maybe we can put something together for a future office hours. But the companies, yes, I would say, you know, there's 75-80% of the content that's on there is just, you know, silly, humorous, you know, dogs and cats and people doing funny things. But there are a few clever entrepreneurs that are using it to promote their business. And so in a crafting space, for example, you know, they're doing some of the same video content that I'm seeing on Instagram or YouTube, but of course in a much shorter format. So they might do an overhead camera and showing like a rapid speed of them putting together something, or giving tips or tricks or advice, and then they're recommending products. And of course, it works the same way where you can put link in bio, and so you're driving traffic back through the bio to, you know, whatever other things you're selling or you're offering. You know, I think the fundamental principles are going to be the same. If you can be generous and you can be helpful, then you can use that platform to attract, you know, whatever audience is watching TikTok. And the algorithm is similar. It's the For You page, so they'll drive videos to the audiences that are watching. So as it so happens, you know, like my For You page is all dogs and craft stuff. And so the great thing about TikTok is if you can match up your content and people will like and engage with it, the algorithm works beautifully. And so your content will get in front of the eyeballs of the people that you're trying to reach. And again, just circling back to, you know, good best practices. If you're providing high quality, valuable content where people are learning, or they're feeling, you know, empowered or confident or whatever, then they're going to keep watching them. And those videos are going to keep showing up on their For You page because they'll engage with them. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, you can also go onto TikTok, I'll put it right here, and search the craft talk hashtag to see what other people are doing. That's a really popular crafting hashtag on TikTok, where you'll see a lot of these sort of jump cut tutorials where they're putting things together very quickly, you know, overhead shot,
Good
how-tos.
Great. Good suggestion.
I'm not sure if this is allowed, but I've heard there's like, I think it's called Mr. Goddess. or Mr. Domestic.
Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Domestic.
Domestic.
What?
Mr.
Yeah,
Domestic. Mhm.
He's kind of he's sharing his same content from TikTok over to Instagram. So I'm seeing it there, but I've heard that that was one thing that came up in another. I hit quite a few of these lectures this week. So that he came up in another lecture and our seminar as someone who's kind of a good person to check out on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I will say that if you're creating content for multiple spaces, definitely reuse or tweak your content so that it can be used in multiple places. If you're doing, you know, a Facebook or an Instagram live, that's going to be a lot of content kind of unedited. But if you have that video ultimately and you can edit together a few clips and make it a shorter TikTok or Reels, like you don't always have to create brand new material. You know, when we do blog posts for clients, we create graphics each platform to promote that blog post. So we're using it in multiple ways. So, and if we have tutorial videos in the blog post, we can also post those. It's not always about creating brand new content. It's about leveraging the content you have in different ways.
Definitely. All right, anyone else have questions or comments, feedback? Nope. Okay, last call, going, gone. Well, thanks, Laura. That was a great presentation. If you guys do have questions that come up afterwards, feel free to send us an email at outreach@stitchcraftmarketing.com and we'll get those answered for you. Again, like Laura said at the top of the hour, we hope that you're on our newsletter. That's going to be the best place for you to learn more about things that are on our mind, trends, information that we're sending out, and also, of course, the announcement for the next office hours, which I believe is 2 weeks from now. Laura, do you have?
No, we're doing one a month now.
One a
So
month,
it's
okay.
going to be on
Next week.
February 16th.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about, hopefully by then we'll have a little bit of insight into what the craft trends are going to be for this year. It's a little hard. AFCI's Creativation is going virtual. And of course there is no TNNA show. But we're going to take a look at the first couple Vogue Lives of the year, the VogueNet Live, and also the Stitches at Home and Stitches Home Expo, and see, you know, in some of the magazines, patterns, other things, and see what we can come up with in terms of trends for 2021.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Laura. We look forward to it. And thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your month, and we'll see you in February. Take care.